Our bank stocks warning the stock market that something bad is about to happen. When we look at the fear and greed index today, it's still sitting at 43, even though we saw all the indices in the green. The Dow was up 235 points. The Nasdaq was up 174 points. S&P 500 up 41 points. And the Russell 2000 up 2.7. We look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 69.8% of issues advancing on the day. And when we come over and look at how the sectors performed across the board, every single sector was in the green. Leading the way was communication services, followed by basic materials. The laggers were financials and health. Speaking about financials real quick, we've been talking about this during the live streams. I do stream live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and I stream the Asia session at 8:45. But when we look at the financials, right, this is the area I said must hold. We spiked it down below yesterday, but we were able to regain it and get back above it. We look at the MACD indicator, also looks a little bit weak at this moment, but then we come over and look at KRE. KRE is also very weak, and we know KRE is susceptible to the commercial real estate problem. Now, yesterday we had a hammer candle, and actually really the last 3 days, we've had buy and tails on the bottom of each of these candles. So is this going to produce a lower high? And we're going to see financials starting to rally back up. Well, if we come over real quick and take a look at Wells Fargo stock, breaking the low out here from the beginning of August. When we look at this article right here, Wells Fargo stock falls on fresh enforcement actions by the federal regulation get involved, and that normally is not good. Now we have a case where we have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high, and now we have a lower low. Now, unfortunately, if you're a bear, we were unable to close below that price point, but it's not just Wells Fargo that's been suffering as well. We come over and look at Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is well off the high. And if we actually look from this high down to where the low was earlier this week, that's roughly an 11% drop. Then we even come over and look at JP Morgan, one of the better banks out there. And what do we see? JP Morgan essentially flat on the day. 3 days where you do have some buy and tails on the bottom of these candles. But look at the monster candle that we saw down just a few days back. Now, if we scroll this on back, this is one of the largest candles that we have seen in quite some time, all going back for at least a couple of years in one single day. The MACD indicator on the daily chart looks extremely weak at this moment. But if we are going to catch a bounce, let's talk about where the bounce may come into play. We can go ahead and mark off from the candle wicks right up here to the candle bodies. If we're going to get a bounce, this makes sense for the market to come right back and repair this structure breakdown point. Then we'll see, do we go sideways, potentially roll back over, or do we go ahead and just blast right through that level and we continue to go ahead and march up higher? We need to keep an eye on the banks. If the stock market rally is going to continue, we need banks to participate as well. Now, when we come over and look at the Fed watch tool, keep in mind, next Wednesday is going to be the FOMC meeting. We're going to see, will the Fed cut rates by 50 basis points or only 25 basis points? There's only a 31% chance at this moment that Jay Powell and company will cut rates by 50 basis points or more. Now, if we come over today and we take a look at the dollar index basically rejecting off this top right over here. So maybe this is going to end up being a double top pattern. I was hoping that maybe this would be a double bottom, but we needed to break above this area here to validate that double bottom pattern. However, that just has not shaken out at this moment. And now, as we look at this, right, if we basically stay in this consolidation down here, the MACD indicator gets towards the zero line, watch out, the dollar is likely going to go lower. Now, who benefits from a lower dollar? It's going to be very simple. We come over here and look at gold. Gold today went ahead and finally completed our ABC pattern completion up here at 2,586. I felt like a broken record player over the last month. We kept talking about that level. Bam, today, that level has now been taken out. We come over, we take a look at crude oil today. Crude oil having a nice little bounce, basically wicked above that swing point right over here. We really need to recapture that level. Then I'll be on the lookout for crude oil making a run towards 71.41 all the way up here to about 71.98. And again, that's a little structure breakdown point that should act as a magnet for crude oil. We come over and take a look at the volatility index. The VIX was down today 3.5%. And when we look towards the end of the day, the VIX started to firm up. And we look at the news for tomorrow. Is there any major news for tomorrow? And really, we have very light news for tomorrow. At 10 a.m., we have preliminary consumer sentiment, followed by preliminary inflation expectations. Other than that, no major news items to contend with for tomorrow. Now, we come over, we look at the Dow Jones real quick, the DIA. Notice, nice little bullish move. Right up here is all-time highs. We are not that far away from making another new all-time high. If we look at the MACD indicator, as we're coming up, it still does not have a bullish cross. On the 4-hour chart, we're just now starting to try to get a cross to the upside. Now, the Russell 2000 had a pretty good day out there today as well. Russell 2000 up 1.29%. And as we look at the Russell 2000, now we go ahead and pull a fib from swing high down to the swing low. Notice we were able to recapture the 38% retracement. Then now the question is, do we consolidate here, possibly roll over a little bit, or can we continue to push up higher towards the 50 or even 61.8 fib level? Now, the 50% fib level does come into the next little distribution of the composite profile, so something we most certainly want to pay attention to. Now, I want to make everybody aware, Apex has extended their 80% sale off all their valuation accounts, $35 reset fees, passed in as little as 1 day, and even better, there is only an $85 activation fee on all account sizes. If you want to take advantage of this offer, use the link in the description box down below and use promo code Mike at checkout. Now, as we come over and look at the QQQs out here on the daily chart, you can see today we were able to get above the 61.8. One of the areas we talked about in this morning's pre-market prep was coming right back into this high volume area of the profile. And that's exactly what we did. Now, the question is, are we going to reject from that area and start coming back down or continue to go up? We can see now we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 up days in a row. And I warned you guys on this candle right here, we had an inside day and we're likely going to get a breakout or breakdown from that pattern. And that's exactly what has transpired. So far, it's been a rally on the way up. Now, when we dive down and look at this on the 4-hour chart, we do have a bullish cross of the MACD lines. And we look up here, one of the areas I do want to focus on is going to be about 475.42 and then up here towards 482.73. Then as we dive down and look at the 1-hour chart, the MACD indicator is running up, but now it's looking like it may want to start to roll over in the very near future. And you can see that's a little bit more evident when we dive down and look at the 30-minute chart. 30-minute chart, MACD indicator is about to cross to the downside. And as we look at this, we have a very well-defined minus development area within this profile. I'm going to go ahead and mark this out for you guys. And this is going to be an area right up in here. This is where I expect we will come back in auction tomorrow. This is where I expect we'll come back in auction tomorrow. That zone is going to be anywhere from about 472.21 to about 471.32. Now, do we bounce off that or do we just simply rock it up? Now, I am a little bit on the suspect side where I think we will flush through the bottom of that zone, probably coming back down towards value area low and maybe even starting to come back and try to retest the point of control out here from yesterday. We come over real quick and we look at the futures markets real quick. Notice we've had quite the push up on the 4-hour chart. So far this week, we've had a 1,097 point range. Last week, we had a 1,343 point range. And as we look at this, do we have any clear areas above us? Well, we do have an untested point of control all the way up here, 19,848.75. But to be honest with you, I just don't see the case. We're going to make it quite that high tomorrow, but crazier things have happened. We'll also notice we have a little bit of a selling tail on the bottom of this candle after we've already had an extended push. So to me, it makes a little bit more sense that we come back, try to repair this little swing point we had here, meaning we broke out from it. We have failed to come back and retest it. Then if we can start breaking down below that area right there, then the next area I would want to focus on would be down here towards these candle bodies, maybe even a flush down towards the minus development area down here. Now, I'm not so excited about thinking we're going to make it all the way down there as early as tomorrow. And then as we look over here at the daily profiles, notice what we see. All right, we are closing once again above value area high. This is going to be 2 days back to back. So this is really going to heighten my senses of where tonight I am actively going to be hunting this level. 19,364 and a quarter is going to be value area high and a very high probability target location. Then we have the point of control down here at 19,301.75. And then we have value area low coming in at 19,212.25. So keep those areas marked off on your chart. They're going to be critical for tonight and tomorrow. It's a very high probability we will test a minimum of value area high. So again, do not overlook that level. Now we also have this minus development area, which kind of correlates very well with value area high. If we can break through that, then I will want to go ahead and start to focus on a retest of the point. I will want to focus on a test of the point of control at 19,301 and then maybe down here towards value area low and then back down to probably trying to test out this minus development area from yesterday's profile at about 19,099 to about 19,076. Keep in mind, we do want to keep an eye on this untested value area high down here at 18,954. I don't really think we'll make it down there tomorrow, but at some point in the near future, we are likely going to come back and revisit that level. Now, as we come over and look at the SPY real quick, notice we've had a nice little push up. Today, we were able to gain roughly 0.84%. MACD on the daily chart is trying to cross up. However, we are not there just yet. Then on the 4-hour chart, what do we see? Basically pushing on the way up. We're coming right back into this other high volume area. And now we've been able to get back into this upper level consolidation at these higher prices. So are we going to reject and go down, or are we going to make it to the other side of that consolidation? And if you look, we're not that far away from all-time highs in the market. Out here on the 1-hour chart, you can see we had quite a straight line push on the way up. MACD indicator still looks strong, but on the 30-minute chart, you can start to see that rolling effect, right? This is showing us that the trend is starting to weaken in this short term, meaning intraday charts. And as we look at this, we have a very huge minus development area within today's profile. So this is going to be an area where we should come back in auction. Now, one of the areas I really like within this profile, other than the volume profile levels, is going to be right here about 526.25, right near this candle wick over here. And it's towards the lower end of this minus development area on the profile. So let's keep an eye on that as we move forward. Coming over and look at the futures markets for the S&P 500, we are getting closer and closer towards this next high volume area up here. But look at the candle. The candle, the way it closed, is a hanging man type of candle. It still needs confirmation before it goes ahead and validates a potential reversal pattern. Now, where might a reversal pattern take us to? Well, right back towards this high volume area of this profile, somewhere in the ballpark of about 55.66. We start breaching that, then my eyes are going to be focused towards the high volume node out here on the composite profile, somewhere in the ballpark of 55.33.00. Now, when we dive down and we look at the daily profiles real quick, right, here's a minus development area that we drew out this morning. We overshot it, boom, right back up off that area. Now, I can go ahead and remove that area off of the chart. Now, we do have a point of control down below us at 5481.75. I'm not really in the cards thinking that we'll come back and test that tomorrow, but at some point in the future, it will be an area we want to focus on. Now, value area high is going to be up here at 5606.75. We have the point of control down here at 5599.75, and we have value area low coming in at 5565.25. So what am I expecting? Well, if you want to get short, wait and see. Can we break above value area high and then come back down? We can target the point of control. And I do think we're going to come back and try to re-auction this area. And really more specifically right here in the ballpark of 55.81 kind of correlates with this swing point here, right dead smack in the middle of this little minus development area. So if you're looking for additional targets, that's going to be a great target moving forward. Now, if we can breach that level, then that's where value area low comes into play. Anything below that, then I'm looking for another retest of yesterday's value area high, and then maybe down here towards the point of control at 5481.75. Now, if you want to make sure your payout is not denied by my funded futures, learn about the micro scalping rule in this video right here.